welcome. This is Sparkle and Shine Guidance with your full moon in partial eclipse in Capricorn at 24 degrees Oracle. And I wanted to talk about the craziness that's happening in the sky right now and some common things that I've heard from people. I also want to say that I'm doing eclipse readings right now for a special rate. If you're interested in that, you can hit me up through PM. I will be not available next week for sure, but if you're going to the Oregon Country Fair, I might see you there, and I'm actually going to be doing these readings at the fair as well. But if you get to me in the next few days, we can set up that, and it's basically just an audio recording I send to you via text, which is kind of cool, because then you'll have it and all of that jazz. All right, so let's talk about this full moon. There's so much other things happening. The first thing I want to talk about is Mercury Retrograde. So that starts July 7th. I was going to do a separate video for that, but I think I might pass on that because life is crazy right now. Mercury Retrograde. Okay, it's starting in Leo on July 7th. It will move back into Cancer. It stations direct at the same exact degree that the full moon's happening at 24 degrees. So the full moon is when the sun is opposing the moon. And you can see this in the sky. I always tell people, go out, look at the sky. You can tell not only where we are in the moon cycle by the size of the moon, right? If you're seeing just a sliver or a half moon, but also by the location of the moon in relationship to the sun. So at a newer moon, it's closer to where the sun is setting, and at a full moon, it's at the complete other side of the sky, right? So that gives you an understanding of what we're talking about when we're talking about the zodiac bands that goes around the earth, and how when the moon is moving so quickly, it moves quickly through the zodiac. It's going to move all the way around, right? The sky. And so it's a way to just understand it a little bit more. So when we have that sun and moon opposite each other, the moon is where we're considering this full moon to be because it's where the moon is, right? But that also means that the sun is in the opposite sign at Cancer, at 24 degrees of Cancer. And so because of that, then we still have this Cancer influence. We are still in Cancer season. We also have a lot of Cancer transits happening. We also have a lot of planets retrograde during this eclipse season, which is very common for summertime, our summertime eclipses, okay? But with the Mercury retrograde happening and stationing direct at the same degree that the full moon is happening on, that gives us an idea of how important this eclipse season is, how important this summer is, and how if you feel like you can't get your grounding right now, that might be why, but also tells you to really extra work hard to gain that grounding. It's very important at this time. So when Mercury goes retrograde, you're going to want to know where this is happening in your chart. It's going to give you an idea of what themes it might highlight, what areas of your life it's going to highlight, and if you have any planets or placements there. For example, I have my Mercury in Cancer. I think it's at 27 degrees. So it's going to go exactly over my natal Mercury, and that is not necessarily a great time to start something new, initiate, process any kind of contract or anything with anyone else. And also my communication might not be as clear, which already Mercury in Cancer is not very clear communication. It's very intuitive communication. It's very psychic communication. But it's not always super clear. As a friend reminded me today, she's like, I just don't understand why you just don't text back with like a simple reply. And I'm like, I don't know. I just think about like what I could say, and then I put the phone down, and then I like think some more, and then I never respond. Or if I do respond, it's about something totally different or whatever. So Mercury in Cancer is not super logical. It's very intuitive. So when we have a Mercury retrograde starting in Leo, playful, courageous, and fun, and then moving into Cancer, which is more emotional. I'm glad we have some Leo placements with this cycle, with this full moon, but Cancer is a little bit more emo, intuitive, but also emo. So it's an interesting thing to have both. So let's talk for a second about this Mercury retrograde. I want to encapsulate and then move on. So it begins July 7th. It ends August 2nd. So it's a good amount of time that it's happening. The most important times to be aware of are when it first stations retrograde, and then when it moves into Cancer, which is on July 19th. So just being aware of those things, and also where this is happening in your chart. Going direct August 2nd at 24 degrees of Cancer. Okay, so not a great time to initiate and start new things, but definitely a great time to work on the things that you've already started this year. We're midway through the year. This is a great time to like do some internal work, look at your life, where you want to improve, where you want to get more courageous, where you want to get more intuitive, and look at where this is happening in your chart. So back to the full moon. The full moon, again, is at 24 degrees, and all the details. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much happening. So we have a square with, I'm going to talk about the things that I like and it's easier to talk about, and then I'll move into the harder transits that I feel like are just like a mind F, you know? So Uranus square Mars is always use caution when Uranus is square Mars. Actually, one of a friend client just posted today, thankfully she's fine, her family's fine, but an accident, you know, just always, and obviously like accidents are accidents. You can't always, hardly ever prevent them, but you can use caution when moving through the world. You can listen to your intuition. If your intuition is saying to stay home, if your intuition is telling you like, I know it's summer, but I'm feeling like I was going to film this outside. And then I was like, you know, just not feeling it. Like I have long sleeves on and it's a little breezy out there. It's not super warm. It's not like I am a summer person. And so it can be frustrating when we're having a summer with all these, you know, we always have Cancer season in the summer, but with all of these retrogrades and eclipses happening in Cancer, it's definitely bringing kind of dark cloud or like just like a more internal time. So listening to that, if that's coming up for you. An internal time, and also very irritable with others, and really to be watchful of that, be cognizant of that, because it's just highlighting your own frustration with yourself. And so a lot of what we're doing when we're alone right now is being really hard on ourselves, being really critical of ourselves, because Capricorn moon is building, and Capricorn full moon, anytime the moon is in Capricorn, when I see a client or a person that has their moon in Capricorn, I'm like, how's your inner voice? You know, it typically tends to be pretty harsh on the self. Not always, but it's very common. And so we want to be aware if we're irritable or losing it with others, it's probably because our own internal voice is very negative right now. So being aware of that negativity, because we don't want to isolate ourselves too much during this time. It's not good. So it is good to stay home more if you're feeling more internal, yes, but still having a friend over, having, you know, going to an event that is mellow. Because if you're getting too isolated, it can just take you down in a downward spiral at this time. And we really need to stay positive. So know the things that make you feel more like yourself, that feel more positive. You know, do the things that fill your cup, because it is vital at this time. There's just so much negativity getting cleared out. We want to make sure it goes, that it moves out fully. We don't want it to get stuck in our psyche. We don't want it to get stuck in our inner voice right now. So definitely be aware of that, okay? Uranus square Mars. Mars is in Leo. Uranus is in Taurus, and they're both fixed. So we have this fixed square, but it's actually shaking up some things that need to get shaken up. And, you know, overall, this whole eclipse, you know, I think it's pretty interesting. I don't know. I don't watch the news, but I feel like overall it's been pretty quiet on the Trump scene. I mean, of course, he's like doing things and yada, yada. But I feel like, you know, there's definitely, I had a dream about Trump the other night, and I was like, there's definitely like some things shifting and changing. Like, I don't know what it is, but with people in positions of power, there's things shifting right now. I really was excited to see a lot of stir and buzz around some of the female candidates that are thinking, well, that are running for presidency, that are running for the Democratic seat. I always say this too, that, you know, when you look at politics, the extreme left and the extreme right actually come around and they form somewhat of a circle. It's not complete. It doesn't really merge, but it comes closer together. And it's actually the moderate, the Democrats that, like, honestly, just like, we don't need more of that. And I'm not saying that we need extreme left, and I don't mean that we need extreme right. I think we need to find that merging point. Like, what is America? What do we stand for? And this is really fitting because the chart for the United States is having a lot of similarities. A lot of things come up. Pluto in particular, and Pluto is about unearthing uncomfortable material, unearthing it so that we can grow and change and bring it into our awareness and have more power. A lot of times within our shadow, within our deepest shadowy bits, is actually our power, and we're frightened of our own power, because with great power comes great responsibility, right? And so we want to be aware that this is happening for, collectively, but also individually. And I've really been aware of this lately, and just being aware of, this idea that, like, love has to come before power. Like, and even just like in the realm that I'm in with dating and with interacting with people that are dating, interacting with clients that are dating, I just keep thinking about and hearing and talking about themes of power. And power isn't love, it's like, to feel powerful in a relationship, to feel like you're in a power couple, that's not love. That's not love. It might be a working relationship. It might be something that feeds you on a different level. But love is surrender. Love is surrender. And so just always remembering, and especially during this time, like, where am I noticing resistance to surrender? Where am I noticing resistance to love? If you're really getting annoyed, even out in public, like, just people are really irritable, I've noticed. And like, it's like, how can I bring the love? How can I just bring a smile and like know that we're all having a hard time? We're all trying our hardest right now. And even if they're trying their hardest looks not like they're trying very hard, they still are, right? So they're doing the best that they can do in that moment, obviously. So that being said, the full moon is conjunct Pluto, it's conjunct Saturn, and that's intensity. There's a conjunction between Pluto and Saturn that's building for 2020. And it's really highlighting this need to clear out old energy. And why is that? Because this full moon eclipse, it's a partial eclipse, it's still an eclipse because we have this total intense eclipse to start the cycle off. So this lunar eclipse needs to be matched in its power to be able to cleanse and clear. So if you're feeling the intensity, just know that full moon's going to come and it's going to clear out the old. And it's because it's conjunct the South Node, and the South Node is our collective past. Pluto's unearthing uncomfortable material, and Saturn is the cold, harsh, heavy discipline, like just where you feel like things are just heavy. Like, what's going on? That's Saturn for you. And then for some of us, we have Saturn making a relationship to our natal Saturn, either conjuncting, which if you're having your Saturn return, it's conjunct your natal Saturn, or squaring. That's really fun. Nobody talks about that. Everybody talks about the Saturn return, but a square to your natal Saturn is super heavy and conflictive, right? And then an opposition to your Saturn, that could be happening as well, which is also just a push-pull and very uncomfortable. So look at your chart, know where 24 degrees of Capricorn, Cancer is happening for you. The other interesting thing, I'm like, and this, and this, and this. Aries. Aries is square. It's exactly square. 24 degrees of Aries. In Aries. Okay, those are two different things. Aries is the goddess of discord, of things need to fall apart before they can come back together. And I've been talking about this. I talked about this in the new moon, not with her in particular. I think it's really interesting that she's squaring this. So it's creating this T-square, but not only that, guys, we also have Pallas Athena. So we have the two goddesses coming in and being like, oh yeah, we're going to create chaos. Like, think of Kali energy. It's like the chaos, and it kind of like, just like, that intensity needs to come in and clear and like, kind of create a mess so that we can know where to clean up. Does that make sense? And then Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena is the goddess of wisdom, the goddess of seeing the bigger picture, seeing through the illusion, which is really important at this time, you guys. I think that I know that I even get swept in when there's so many news things happening, and I'm like, okay, this is the news, and the news is bought and paid for by corporations. Like, we really can't trust the news. Even NPR, I'm sorry. When you hear who's donating to NPR and creating this system, and it's mostly pharmaceuticals, you're just like, okay, pharmaceuticals want us to stay medicated, want us to stay in our illusions so that they can create more income. And we have a system in our healthcare that is a for-profit system. There's no profit in healthy, awake humans. And we're starting to change that. And actually, my whole book that I would like to get out to you guys soon is about this topic, and about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And basically that he said that when we know that we're moving forward, when we have people profiting off of bringing others to self-awareness. And that's where we're kind of at this juxtaposed position here, where it's like we could go back and keep doing it that old sleepy way and just turn back on the TV and get on our phones, or we have the opportunity to really step into our self-awareness, our self-actualization, and being the people that we want to see making the change, right? Being the leaders that we need to be, being the example that we want to set, instead of just saying, oh, they should be doing this or this should be happening. It's like, how about we just live that? I've really been aware of plastic. Plastic is evil, and really just bringing in my containers to refill the plastic that I do have, just trying to do the little things that I always was I'm just too busy, and getting back to some of those things that I was doing before I had kids. So that was a rant, and I think an important one, although I don't really know the full picture, but I think that it's saying Pallas Athena is helping us with the awakening. Uranus is helping us with the awakening. Aries is helping us with the awakening. And Capricorn is not. Capricorn, that's what's getting cleared out. So look at your Capricorn placements. Look at what you have in Capricorn. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying right now the shadowy bits are in Capricorn. So just know where that's happening in your chart, 24 degrees for the full moon. And know that there's these other things to lean on to help you bring awareness and awakening. And obviously, working with amazing healers at this time is so vital, you guys. I just don't understand why people don't invest in themselves more. And I think it's something that we really need to look at if we're having trouble, and look at our Capricorn. What we're having trouble if we're being too frugal, or we're spending money on things to keep us sleepy instead of things to awaken us. So definitely reach out if you're interested in working together. I also have astrology school that I'm super excited to share with you guys. So if you're interested in bringing this awakening to more humans, if you're interested in bringing self-actualization to more humans, and you want to learn more about astrology, now is the time, guys. We're halfway through 2019. So if you want to finish out the rest of the year with a new skill and a new profession, you can add it to your healing practice that you already have, or you can just start fresh. So reach out. I'm super excited. I love working with the people that move through my program, and just seeing them actually gain the material that they need to be able to be healers. It's so satisfying. So I'm really excited for that. And if you have any questions, please post them below. And I hope you have a beautiful full moon eclipse, and take good care of yourself. Take good care of your minds, especially. Have a great day.